Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a very cool prototype to show you. So this is the One Track Mind Ire, and this is a design by Stephen Joyce, and he just started this company, One Track Mind, and this is his first knife design. He is going to have a pre-order for this model in June. So if you're not into pre-orders, totally get it. You can switch it off at any point you like. If you don't mind a pre-order, if you don't mind supporting someone's business, if you really enjoy their design or have the extra money for it, then stay tuned and let's check out the One Track Mind Ire. So the OEM on this knife is Kunwu Knives. So it is a made in China knife by Kunwu Knives. We all know Kunwu has a reputation for very well-made knives on their own brand, like the Geezer here. It's the one I have closest to me and the one I enjoy the most that just came in. This is their slip joint model. I absolutely love it. Check out my video on this that just posted as well. Now, Kunwu is doing the OEM on this. I don't have a ton of experience with Kunwu OEM'd knives. I have handled some of Asher's knives that have been OEM by Kunwu. And I've actually had a couple of knives prototyped by Kunwu myself with Divo knives. We didn't end up ordering any of those, but we did get those made. And then I've handled the Ashers, and they've been pretty good. And this one feels really good. So I think they've stepped up their game a little bit when it comes to their OEM work. We all know that their branded products are very well made. There's no argument there. So I'm happy to see that this is really well executed. I got to give them credit. The transitions are pretty good. I can feel the transition here. It can catch on my nail here and here, but it's very well done. I mean, all the edges are extremely well done. Unless you're going to be using Riot or even Bestech these days, it's going to be hard to find a perfect transition. Here's one from Bestech, and yeah, that's damn near perfect. But you're not going to see that from anybody but those two companies, really. So I would say this is, 93% perfect, which is good enough for me. The pre-order price on these is $300, and it'll be sold on the One Track Mind website. You can go over there at any time that you wish, and it's onetrackmindco.com. And you can sign up for their email list so you can get updates and everything on that. And it just says it's coming in June. What he noted was, my name is Steve Joyce, and I started One Track Mind so that I could make aesthetically pleasing, well-functioning knives and share them with everyone. I'm working with Kunwu to bring you my first design, Ire. So there's some information from Steve himself. I believe there's a full titanium version. You can check out a video that Stasa did on that one. This is actually the second one that I've checked out. So Stasa sent me the carbon fiber one that he had. But when I got it, the detent ball fell out. So I was flicking it out of the box, and it was really sticky. Like, the detent was strong and sticky. And I noticed when I went like this and dropped it on the detent, if I popped it past, you hear that? It makes that noise because that detent ball is sticking out so far, and that blade has to clear it. And it was doing that, and I was flicking it, and all of a sudden, within the first 2 minutes of flicking it, the detent just disappeared because the ball came out of the insert. So I sent it back to Steve. He was going to reach out to Kunwu, or I don't know what he was going to do. Maybe he had an extra ball or insert to test. But that's all something he can get dialed in for prototyping. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I noticed that on this prototype, it's the same thing with that detent ball being really exposed. And you hear that click? I'm going to stop doing that because I'm afraid it's going to pop out of this one. What that tells me is either you have to put the detent ball into the insert further, which is probably going to result in less of a snappy detent, because we're going to talk about that in a second. The detent on this knife is one of the best tuned detents I've ever felt. It has a hole, studs, and a front flipper, and every one of them is dialed perfectly. That's damn near impossible to get right. So I got to give them credit there. But I'm afraid if you did a full production run with that detent like that, you're going to have a lot of detent balls that are popping out and falling out. So what I would recommend, and you guys know I hate these, is to add a detent track. I think a detent track on this knife makes a lot of sense because you can avoid that issue because the ball will ramp onto the blade and off the blade, and it'll be much smoother. It won't have to pop across, right? And you can see the detent isn't early on this. So I like a knife where you disengage it and it almost immediately falls off of the detent. Here is where it lands on the detent ball. You can see that's a pretty steep angle. I'll grab you an example here. Similar shaped knife, okay? This is our Divo tall boy design. And kind of they're similar in a sense, right? So both prototypes, you can see where this one lands and hits the ball, right? So let me put it perfectly straight on the handle and the blade right on the ball there, okay? So on the tall boy, if I push that and I hit the detent ball, it hits right there. So it's barely even closing at that point. I'll put the blade straight, or the handle straight, sorry. And you can see the difference in the angle. You have a very steep angle here and almost none here, right? This knife will lock up right there. So we don't like using detent tracks, and I don't like detent tracks. When you have a knife like this where your detent is early, I don't think there's any reason for it, because as soon as you hit this lock bar, you're clearing that detent, right? You're not going to get caught on that detent. And with a knife like this, you could get caught on that detent when you're clearing it. And then you're stuck on there, and you have to either push the lock bar further to clear it, or you have to push over it, and then you make that click sound, and you potentially could push that ball out eventually, right? So me personally, I got the knife. What I would do is just remember, I always clear it. You know, it wouldn't be a problem for me, but I think a lot of people do struggle with that. And then also left-handed, when you go to close it, you have to clear it, right? If you go to disengage it, now you're stuck. And then you end up doing that thing where you rock it back. So I think a detent ramp would solve most of those issues. Just a thought on that if we're taking any feedback. So yeah, so you have that. Now, the positives on this detent. So first, you do have a reversible clip. You'll see there's a cutout here for the clip, and he is adding a filler tab to that. As soon as I saw this, I was like, you got to add a filler tab. So he's adding a filler tab. That's going to look good. Whether it's titanium or carbon fiber, I think it'll look fine. Now, you have this hole for reverse flick. I like that kind of slim style hole. You guys know I like holes shaped in these sort of, you know, geometric shapes. But I can come all the way down here with it and flick it, and it fires out. I mean, sure, could I fail it down here? Nope, tried. It still ended up locking up. And if you come up here, man, it really fires out. Then you have the thumb stud. I don't know why you would use the thumb stud to reverse flick when you have the hole, but excellent detent. Then you have the flick, thumb flick. Look at that. Perfect detent. Not too strong, not weak at all. Then you have the front flipper. Perfect detent. Doesn't feel too strong. I was like, wait, this is going to feel way too strong. Nope. Feels absolutely perfect. Can you roll it? Yes. You can roll it back. I mean, you can literally, I haven't tried this. Look at that. You can reach around it. It's a little big for my hand, but you can reach around it. Literally perfectly dialed detent. So I got to give him huge credit for that execution with a front flipper, hole, and studs. It's really hard to do. So that's why I'm saying I think a detent ramp would be cool, because then you could preserve that perfect detent. You do have a bolster lock design. You have a nice thick piece of titanium there to lock up on. Very nice. You have a steel insert. Whoops, I didn't mean to go over the ball there. You have a really nice blade, pretty tall blade, sheep's footy blade, a little bit of belly in there. You have a finger choil, and this is a flat grind. You know, I would love to see a hollow, but it's nice and thin. And again, we're talking about Kunwu here, so this is going to be a laser beam. Trust me. Tall, flat grind, it'll be a laser beam. Probably cut better than most hollow grinds anyway. You can choke up here like this, and you have a little bit of a poon spoon here, and you can lock in on that. Now, it is a bigger knife for me. I personally like knives, you know, 2.75 to 3 1/4. This is going to be around, I think, 3.5 inches on blade length. Actual cutting edge will be less than that, but let's see. Yeah, we're at almost 3.75. I mean, it's close, 3.6 we'll call it. And then you have almost 3 1/4 cutting edge. So that choil does, you know, use up some of your usable blade length there, but you really lock in. You have another kind of choil here, and everything feels really comfortable in the hand. So this would be a really good user. You can also choke back here, and this is really comfortable. The handle curves a little bit. It's kind of subtle, but it does curve a little bit, and it really feels comfortable in this back grip and in that forward choke up grip. So the ergonomics are really good. The corner right here is excellently executed. They really did a good job rounding that off, and it's not sharp at all. That's something, you know, even I struggle with getting that right. So they did a great job there having that sort of angle on it. This is the weave carbon fiber. You got a nice little shield there, sort of, for the pivot. I like that. It's a captive pivot design. Obviously, it is a bolster lock. It looks perfectly centered to me, and it's just a fun knife. I mean, it's got a good fidget factor. It's got a good detent. It's gonna cut really well. So I think it achieves what he was going for, which is aesthetically pleasing, functional knives. The jimping is good. I wish I could get a little bit tighter jimping up and around the top. I say that about every front flipper, but this does work really well. It's strong enough, and it flicks pretty good. I'd also love to see a belt satin on here versus this machine satin. I don't think Kunwu does belt satin, but it still would be cool to see. Just want to mention it. But overall, this knife is absolutely fantastic. He did a great job. I think it's a little large overall for me personally, so I wouldn't pick one up. If he does a mini Ire down the line, I probably would pick it up, because it is right up my alley. If you guys know my style, sheep's foot blade, bolster lock, all the good stuff is here. And yeah, I'm impressed with it. So for a first knife design and a first release, I think Steve is doing an absolutely great job. And if you guys want to support it, you can. Pre-order starts in June. $300. You can sign up for that mailing list on his website so you don't miss it. And if you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and either Steve or myself will answer whatever we can. I appreciate you guys checking this out. Shout out to Steve for letting me check this out. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I love you. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.